Yeah. Everybody get it out. Shake your head, get it all. All right. That being said, hey, thank you all for joining today. I was thrilled that they asked me to do a little kind of an open conversation about how to utilize your chambers. And I think I had to double check what the name of this session was, and it's how to utilize chamber groups and boot camps. And I know I've spoken to Linda in the past, and I've had a lot of really good successes. So I thought I'd share what things I've been able to do and how it's even, I mean, it's really, I hate to say it this way, but COVID's been a blessing because it's forced me to look at how do I use the chamber a different way? How do I use my time a different way? And the two chambers that I only belong to two chambers, and they happen to be the two, one is a very large chamber south of me in Boca Raton. And in Boca, that is where a lot of the national corporate headquarters are. Office Depot is there, SMS is there, ADT that does the alarms, all that stuff, they're all there. So that's why I joined that chamber. And then the chamber the other one I belong to is further north. It's our northernmost chamber. And it has, it's all the science and testing for, it's got big science labs. It's got squib, is that what they call it? Squib,
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of big science research centers. And so within it, mixed into both are a lot of legal companies, a lot of big law firms, big accounting firms that support the people in those industries. So those were the two chambers. That's why I chose them. At first, I wasn't a chamber. I wasn't a fan of chambers because I just didn't think I could get in the right business sense of who I wanted to work with. I wanted to work with medium-sized businesses. I didn't want to work with the one-armed real estate firms. Well, I grew to learn that I could do a lot with one-armed real estate firms after I got to know them. But that being said, I put off chambers for a while. And then I went in with a strategy just because it's who I am. And I learned this from Tom. Tom Leonard taught me all about strategy. Don't do anything. Don't come up with an idea, come up with the idea, but don't move forward till you build a strategy. I listened to you, Tom. I listened to you at many a summit, bud. And I've taken that away. And that's what I've done with both of the chambers. And so one of the strategies that I came up with was, how do I put myself as part of the chamber mainframe? Meaning, you know, most chambers have a membership division, they have an event planning deal, and they've got things that they do. But I went in with the mindset of how can I add value for them with my company? And at the same time, they don't have to think about educational events. They don't have to think about lunch and learns. They don't have to think about programs. I'll present them. I'll create them for them. They were all over that. So if you do belong to a chamber or a group that doesn't do a lot of having speakers come in, don't wait for them to call you. Create a program and give it to them. And so the very first thing I did, because my name's the Proffitt, I negotiated my trustee fee. And the trustee fee for the Boca Chamber, which is south of us, is $3,400 a year. It's like, I'm not doing that. So I created this program for them that I thought would kick off. It's called Smart Talk for Women. And it's designed where I said, if you'll let me do, I will do this for you once a month. It's held the fourth Tuesday of every month at lunchtime. It's held at a Seasons 52, which happens to be the center area of where we are in Boca. 30 women come in into a big conference room area. They serve us the same salad. Well, not the same. They make a new salad, but it's the same salad. Every month you get salad with chicken on it and iced tea, and that's it. Oh, you get the little Seasons 52 desserts. The whole structure of this is I pick a topic. I give the chamber a topic. I give them 12 months worth of topics. Each month there's a topic. My role as the person there is to simply facilitate. I open the meeting with an introduction. Everybody gets to introduce themselves. They don't give the, they are not permitted to do a 30-second commercial. They get to give their name and their company. And then I usually come up with some question, depending on the time of the year, depending on what events have taken place, something to just kind of prime the pump to get people talking. Somehow, some way, I try to word it around the topic. For instance, how to get through the gatekeeper. Getting to the decision maker, how to get through a gatekeeper is a topic. And so they get to tell me, they get to share with us in less than 15 seconds. You have all kinds of parameters around it because you don't want the chatty Cathy's there. It's not a 30-second commercial. Who are you? What's your company? And for instance, which company, or if you don't want to say the company, what is the biggest challenge you've had in getting around a gatekeeper? But you have to do it in 15 seconds. Or how did you overcome getting around a gatekeeper? 15 seconds. Then we kick off. I always have an article for them somewhere. I don't turn that out until almost the end. And then I open it up. I always have a list of questions that I've created in case it goes south. It has never in 5 years gone south. I can tell you 30 women can come up with stuff to talk about, whatever the topic is at a given time, that keeps the conversation going. Now, it doesn't always stick to the topic. You'd be amazed where it veers off, which is fine, as long as it doesn't veer off into someone becoming the speaker. Because at the beginning of this meeting, I also set up the parameters of shut off your phone, where's the bathrooms, and then I let them know that we're respectful of each other. We want everybody in the room, we'd like you to participate. Just raise your hand and I'll pick you. Hey, if anybody sees me miss somebody, point it out, because we're at a big oblong table and I sit in the middle so I can see both ends, but sometimes can't see people. I have them, point out. And then I let them know. If you feel the need to go on further than you should, I will be respectful and ask you to stop. And they look at me and then they go, oh, okay. But I set it up to begin with because you've all been in meetings where somebody gets on there and they just think this is their opportunity to Jim Jaw to death and tell you everything that ever happened to them. So those are parameters around it. That's a sold out event every month. And we just transitioned it to Zoom, and they're only allowed to register 30 people. They transitioned to Zoom. The first month we went to Zoom, they forgot to shut off the registrations and we had 55 people. I almost croaked. I'm not going to kid you. How do you keep this type of a topical conversation going with 55 people? Because you have to have a producer. And luckily somebody like Wendy's there from the chamber that says, hey, there's somebody's hand and somebody's hand. But with 25 to 30, it works. Pick any topics. They love marketing. They love sales. They love, I do some on managing a team, but understand that a lot of the women are attorneys. A lot of the women are executive management women in some of the big corporate groups. Some of them are small one-man band businesses. Some are marketing experts with like TrustBridge or in that case, that's the Alzheimer's Society. So there are various positions and levels. So I don't make it all about leadership because some don't have teams. One of the topics that has been really, really, really successful has been, when is it time to outsource? And then I put dash, you want to make money? And ... And boy, I'll tell you, the ideas they've come up with for what to outsource and how much input to have and what to charge and how to barter and all those things. It really, and the luncheon is an hour. So we start at 11:45 for 15 minutes. They wander around the room and network. 12 o'clock on the dot, we start. At 11:45, I wind it down. Because from 1:45 to 1 o'clock, that's when everybody gets to pull out their business card. And we all get to pass the business card to the right. And while they're doing that, we do the old famous trusted advisor conversation. What's one thing you're taking from our time together today? And in order to get 30 people to pass their card and to share their one thing, you got it. You really have about 45 minutes. And I promise you, I have never yet, knock on wood, had an instance in which there was nothing to talk about. Somebody's always kept it going. And again, I say sometimes it veers to other things, but you bring them back if you need to. Otherwise, if it's an insightful conversation and people are engaged, the purpose is not for education per se, it's for networking in a business discussion. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm not there as a facilitator to teach them anything. As a matter of fact, I rarely talk. Yes, Linda.
Nance, just a question. You kind of ran over something and I'd like you to explain it a little bit further. You said you always have an article or something for them, but that you don't give that out until the end. Is that a true statement?
Yes, and I also let them know that the chances are I try to find articles that aren't mine, because I also open it up with, we're all here to help each other. I'm not here to promote my business, and I don't let them promote their business. If they start on a tangent, pontificating about, well, in my business, I've done this with that, and I think you should do, I am my most respectful way, say, shut the hell up. I really do shut that down, because the point is not to sell your business. You don't get to tell us how brilliant you are as a limousine service. You don't get to tell us how brilliant you are as a banker. We're there to discuss how to overcome business challenges, whatever that may be. And so you have rarely do you have to do that. Occasionally with some people, you know, I've only at one time had to walk up to somebody afterwards and ask them, I said, I felt as though you interfered with the process, that it really, I did it about 3 hours later. I called them and said, hey, that wasn't the point of the operation. The point of the meeting wasn't for you to stand there and sell your stuff. So, and she was trying to sell her books, her workshops and all this stuff. And so she came back a second time. And then I asked one of the people, the Wendy people of the chamber, to help me, because I'd already gone up against the challenge myself and asked her to knock it off. Second time she came with the same mindset, and she doesn't come anymore, which doesn't bother me at all, because that's not the point. We're here to help each other. So that's one thing that's worked successfully. You can make it, I call it Smart Talk for Women. The other chamber on the north end, I did the a similar thing. We do it every other month, and it's open to non-chamber members every other month, chamber and non-chamber. And they just started it with Zoom. I mean, the only way we've done it is virtually, because we just kicked it off in March, and then everything went haywire. But it's very similar. It's called SHE. I think it's women that are smart, honest, and energetic. They made the title, not me. But at any rate, it gives a theme. Those are a couple of things that I've done with the chamber. A third thing from a boot camp situation is I have a 3-day boot camp, and I pared down and asked the chamber if I could do, and I didn't get paid. I don't get paid for any of them. I didn't ask to get paid for this boot camp that I'm about to describe. I made a boot camp that had 3 pieces to it: leadership, goals, and communication. And they're 2-hour workshops. And it's over 3 weeks, 2 hours, and it's on a Wednesday, again, around 1 o'clock, I believe is what we did it. Yeah, 1 to 3. Wednesday, 1 to 3, the next Wednesday, 1 to 3, and the next Wednesday. And that was open to chamber members only. The chamber charged for that the same way they charge for the Smart Talk for Women. When we're at a luncheon, they charge them for the lunch. But Zoom, they don't charge them. For the workshops, they do charge them. And I think they were charging them like $35 for a 2-hour workshop. And of course, I make the 2-hour workshop just enough to wet their whistle.
Nancy, tell me the 3 things again.
Oh, leadership. What does a leader look like? Goal setting and communication. And it's very broad on communication. And at some point I talk about the disc, because at some point I want them to call me and get the disc. So it's a marketing tool. I don't ask to be paid for that. That worked really well That really was working really, really well. We were filling that once a month. COVID came. And then I thought, what else could I do? We did that for about 8 months, and then COVID hit. Then I decided, why don't I go out to chamber members and ask for partners, so that I'm not doing I'm not doing a 6-hour boot camp. So I got a hold of an HR person, a benefits person, and myself. And we did it with, how do you deal with COVID? The HR person she talked for 15 minutes. The benefits person talked about what to do with COVID and the benefits and what goes upside down with that. And then I got there from an operational standpoint, how do you, work people, how do you manage remotely? We did that workshop and we were requested to do it. We've done it 4 times. Again, none of us get paid. It's just simply marketing. We're just and we do it in an open conversation like this. The next time I did it with lawyers, because who likes to talk more than lawyers? So I went out, the chamber didn't have to do anything. I went out and found 3 attorneys that could talk about what to do with your business as COVID was really spiking here in Florida to the point where everybody was dying. We were the 2nd highest state after New York for a long time. But how do you run your business? And so we had a lawyer talk about how to negotiate out of your lease, how to deal with those kind of things. We had so many people with that rented their office and they're not in it. Then we had a lawyer talk about how to renegotiate contracts with vendors because they didn't need a vendor to bring in soda pop or whatever they used. And another lawyer to talk about employment law. We made that a 2-hour session, not a 1-hour session. Mm-hmm. That got requested because, by the way, we limited it to 30 people. Both of those, boot camp and the other 30 people, because we want to have a conversation. And we want people to go out into the chamber world and say, did you go to that workshop? Geez, you got to see that workshop. We want to do multiple workshops. They became our network. They became our marketing people. And again, for the lawyers, all I had to do was make sure everybody got on. I rehearsed with them because lawyers can get out of control, and I had to control them a little more than normal people. So know that that's possible. But the benefit really became, it became a way for me to market myself. It became a way for me to be seen as a connector. And it came a way for me to force myself to call people that I had to talk to during COVID. Although I started this long before COVID, a lot of it, it became a way, forced me to go out and create programs that I didn't always have to be the star of the show, but I always made sure I had a piece of the show. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So those are chambers want it. They're dying for speakers. They're dying for speakers to come with really good content. Whether, Florida, we're in stage 3 now until we all get sick again. We're in stage 3. So they're going to be speaking engagements. We don't know how many people we just got on it. I don't know how many people are going to come out to a chamber meeting. What do you guys think? Yeah. Do you think people are going to spread out? Bob?
No, it's a good question, but I wanted to get back to your, what I really liked about the approach you have is we've all been to all these networking meetings where if there's no planned content, they're all the same, right? You see similar people and everyone's ready to give their 30-second pass a card and, and there's no content. And I was interested, so you're always getting enough content in there that people, they really see the difference. That this is definitely content. You've got your 12 or your monthly, you've got it set up with what the content. Then, so I like that. I was actually thinking before, as you were getting started, I thought, okay, she's going to do a disc, and one of these first ones is going to be communication style and, sharing. Wendy will tell us how to, communicate with her, and you'll do that. But you hold that back, right? Is that what you're saying? So
yeah,
that's something
I'm going to charge them a fortune for that.
Okay. All right. That's what I was.
I dribble in it, what I have done is given I think in one of them under communications, I did it, and I'll never do it again. I gave him the manual disc.
Yeah.
Just to talk about how would that look, what do those words mean. But that the communications one, we usually a topic under that in the boot camp is dealing with difficult people.
Yeah, right.
That's always always a big one. And if anybody would like the list of 12 topics over the last 5-6 years I've been doing this, I'll be glad to send them out to you. Sure. Yeah, just pop me an email because I don't have everybody's contact, but I'd be more than happy any topics. And what I do is a couple of days before I research a topic and then create enough questions, and I make a hard copy of that. When we're meeting in person, I make a hard copy so that I can pass it around the table. It's kind of, at the end, it's a summary of what do we take away today. And so they walk away with something and of course, it's never the topic that's important. I mean, it's never the topic that drives it. Mm-hmm. It's the conversation they all get in. And it's the energy in the room that really starts to blossom that makes it makes it powerful. What other ideas are you guys doing?
Nancy, I have a question. This has been great. Thank you. So when you partnered with the HR and the benefits person, was that session an hour or was that one also 2 hours, like with the attorneys?
First one was an hour. And I want to tell you, it was high end. We each had a few little slides. It was bam, bam, high. These are the things to look at. And both of those people got socked with calls afterwards. Because you're giving them enough to, and I don't mean this in a manipulative way. I truly do not. You're giving them enough to think about that. Oh my goodness, I need to talk to you. I'm on my way down a slippery slope here because I don't know what to do with these employees. Or heck, I don't know. How do I call my benefits people and tell them I'm not paying $8,000 this month for benefits? Those were the type of questions that these two people answered.
Okay, so you really, I think you just answered. I was wondering, what's the follow-up like? So you have all these people in the room, they have high energy, they love the conversation, and then what? Do you follow up with them or are they just calling you from the...
They're calling up. The whole purpose is, well, I do follow up. I mean, just like any of us when we network, there's some kind of follow-up. Whoever's on that call, the chamber doesn't do it, I do it. I send out a thank you, and I send out a little, just like we do after our training classes, I send out a little, hey, what did you think? What other, I always ask for other topics. Mm-hmm. I like to think of them, they think of them. I don't like thinking. I like when people give me stuff to do. And it really works, and they tell you what's on their mind.
Great, thank you.
I tell you, having an HR person come to that kind of a meeting when you're working with corporate folks, it's sales. It really does well. Yeah, and the smaller companies that don't have an HR person, like maybe a 40-member team software company that this person comes all the time, they don't have a full-time HR person. Well, now they are now doing business with Penny Morey, who's an outsourced HR person, because they didn't even know there were those people around. And again, I think and I don't get paid for any of it. I don't get paid for it. Now, if you want the, full crux, all the meat workshop, that's 3 hours, and that's a whole nother thing, which these things have afforded me that opportunity to put on back when we could meet. What we would do is, as Bertha, as you were talking about, a targeted class.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it opened up. They got a wet enough whistle. What other things, how have you used your chamber to help you? Anybody else belong to chambers, networking groups?
Hi, Nancy. I just wanted to ask you, I'm a member of Manhattan Chamber. My name's Lauren Logan, and we've met at
PowerTalk
before. And I was asked to speak, I guess in early June, and I was part of a 3-presenter presentation on pivoting your business and restarting again. And got great responses from the few people I heard from, but when I asked if I could follow through with what I was told were 100 people on the call, was told that no, it's a chamber policy. We don't give out that information. We will give your information out, but we won't give you that information.
Wow.
Wow.
So I have been reluctant to offer my services since that time. But I was obviously your chambers. You don't have that issue. You get the list afterwards.
It's in the chat. Everybody's required, not required, everybody's asked to put their contact information in the chat. Then the chat gets printed and sent over. It's recorded. The chat gets saved and the chamber sends it over. It sends it out to everybody. Everybody gets everybody's contact information because how else are you going to get their business cards? At a regular networking event, you get business cards.
Exactly. I think the chamber, the Manhattan Chamber covers that by sending out an email, a thank you email after the event that has your contact information in it, and that's their response. But
yeah, interesting.
Hey, Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's Bob again from up the street in Tampa. Hey, when you have this 3-hour targeted class or workshop then that you're able to monetize, is that something that's also held at the chamber or you have to take that somewhere else?
No, I hold it at the chamber because they have an ginormous room. I have held it at one of my clients has it's a bank. One of my clients, I happen to sit on the board of the bank and they've got an enormous conference room and I've done it at the bank. And if you've got a banking relationship with anybody, banks love for you to bring people in because they'll let you use the conference room for almost nothing. I bring all the food and the drinks and I let the bank say hello and give their 30-second commercial and they get everybody's business card and that's kind of our deal kind of thing. So I've used the bank, I've used the customer's office and I've used the chamber. I don't have an office. My office is a 12 by 12 in the backyard of my place. That, as everybody knows, if you were on the call early, it's very dark because I'm surrounded by bamboo and palm trees. I'm in luxury back here in the palm trees, but it's dark. What else are you doing? George, you were about to say something and I think you got cut off. Were you about to share with us? What are you doing? Okay. Linda, what are you doing? I know you're active as all get out in your chamber.
Well, I've been on the board of the chamber, so that's, you know, we at one point in time, we belonged to like 3 different chambers when we first moved down here. But like anything else, you know, you can't just belong to the chamber, you got to work it. And so we've narrowed our focus now and just belong to the one chamber where we live. I served on the board. I'm currently not on the board, but I'm chairman of the Women in Business Committee. How appropriate. So we do a lot of stuff through that. For instance, we have something called the Women of Impact Awards in November in 9 different categories. It's all about getting yourself out there, and you're absolutely right. You don't have to be the star of the show every week. You can just, you know, do the intro, facilitate the session, make sure it doesn't get out of hand. You can bring in guest people on a particular subject, like when you were talking about the HR thing. I think that's the way to go. I mean, if you, you know, everybody on this call has done networking, God knows. When we first started this business in North Carolina, we used to refer to ourselves as the networking king and queen of the Western world. Because if you threw it, we showed up because we needed to get known. We knew no one down here. But you've all been to networking events. You know, it's chit-chatting. It's a you know, huge amount of people and a lot of noise and some adult beverages, and that's all fine and dandy. But I think going this route that you described is an absolutely positively more productive way of networking.
Yeah, I never go to a chamber breakfast because both chambers are 45 minutes north and south of me. And so I'm up early, I'm out. I mean, I'm up and ready to go at 5 o'clock. You can find me anywhere at 5 a.m. But I'm not driving someplace for a 7 o'clock or 7:30 breakfast because I get nothing, nor do they get anything from me at 7 or 7:30 with 300 people in the room. Yeah. That doesn't work for me. That's why I like the trustee group, which is, it's centered on larger businesses, which is where my target is.
Right.
You know, I don't mean large from medium-sized businesses, where my small to medium-sized businesses, not a lot of, I don't do any startup, and I don't do any, you know, but I can include those businesses, the startups or the smaller businesses, through targeted classes instead of going to a chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I am not one, I will not. I think I started in business. I started with Wendy in 2004. That's how long ago it was. And I can tell you, in that time, I have been to maybe 2 after hours.
Oh.
Because I don't drink when I'm out. I certainly don't drink around business people, because if you know me well enough, I'm so freaking nuts anyway. Can you imagine me with alcohol? It is not pretty. So I purposely, I don't want to, you know, I'm a firm believer in loose lips sink ships. So if I'm going to network, I really do believe in, I'm not, but will I go to will I go to every nonprofit's barbecue or every nonprofit? I will do anything you have out there to support, but I limit what I do within the chambers, because to your point, Linda, there's a bajillion things they may do, but you wear yourself out after a while. So you have to get selective. George.
I'm the member of a fairly large chamber by our standards, probably not by Manhattan standards. They started doing something interesting with their networking events. And they, you know, everybody went to Zoom. And what they're doing is called speed networking. And it's an hour networking event. And what they do is they put you in a chat room with one other person for 10 minutes. So you're actually having individual one-on-ones with 6 people for an hour, instead of just having the normal. I mean, you go to enough chamber events, I could probably recite everybody's 30-minute speech, 30-second speech for them by the time you keep going to them. So I thought that was an interesting take on how to get more value out of what would be just a general networking event.
Cool. Hey, Nance, how are you?
I'm good, Nancy. How are you?
Perfect. Thank you. I love your emails. I love your posts. They're excellent.
Oh, that's my cheating way of growing my business, because I've been too lazy to write my own. So I just go out there and find them. I have one observation, and then I do have a question for you. I think you asked earlier how many people see in-person networking reviving. And what I can tell you, where I am here in Maryland, our numbers keep dropping. They're like 2 something. And more people are doing in-person networking. There's a chamber called the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber that's east of Baltimore. And they had an event, I want to say it was mid-August, and I went, and there were probably 30 people in the room. I mean, people are just really excited to talk to people.
Wow.
And with my BNI group, BNI internationally, all across the world, is still meeting via Zoom, but the members in the group, we find reasons to do our one-to-one or little group meetings in person, because there's something about being able to see someone and talk to them, I think, that creates a whole different environment. And of course, everybody's got to decide what's best for them. But here, when I come down, I have an office in Baltimore and I live south of there. When I come home, it's like rush hour again. I mean, people are out on the road. And but again, our state is different. Our numbers are really good. Now, and also with what George said, BNI is doing that same thing when they have joint networking events with other organizations. You're put in chat rooms and you get to talk to people individually. The question I have for some of these I love the concept that you shared with us. Say for your smart talks, has there been any discussion about focusing the smart talks for people in a specific industry like construction or healthcare, where they can talk about the issues, but they can bring out their concerns based on the experience they're having in their own work environment?
Interesting that you say that. The Boca Chamber has a healthcare segment to it, because we've got, in Boca, in that area is a big healthcare area. They do have, for lack of a better term, I guess, it's not a committee, it's just a group, and they meet once a month. I don't know what they do because I don't do healthcare, but I would assume is something similar to what you're talking about, Smart Talk for Women, but pared down to a target industry. That I think that's a brilliant idea. Contractors, healthcare, whatever. That's a great idea.
In Baltimore, there's a significant amount of construction going on. I mean, it's actually thriving with the buildings, and then actually real estate is going through the roof. So the small contractors are getting hired to remodel homes. And totally by accident, I have been connected with that particular industry almost the whole time and been part of the network. So that's sort of, when you said that's what I might suggest to the Chesapeake Chamber is, what if we do a smart talk, not just for women, but smart talk for people in the construction industry, addressing the kind of issues that you brought out.
Who is getting robbed?
Yeah.
I love the idea.
That's my motion detector, and I sure hope it's because some critter walked in front of it, or else I don't know.
Nancy, if you disappear from the screen, we'll call 911.
Yeah, if something big happens, we'll be the first to get you.
Thank you. Come all the way up here.
So, you know, I think that's a great way to look at that. And again, you know, for the guys on the phone, I think you can pull a group together, smart talk for anything.
Sure.
And I mean, the point is the topics are so varied. It's not that you're presenting. The most important part of this that makes it successful is I'm not presenting a ding dang thing. I'm opening up a conversation on a particular topic. Some people have talked about what's been great is we've had a lot of younger women coming into the chamber, and they want to talk about career paths. They want to talk. So, you know, we made something about when is it time to go to the next level, and how do you determine that? I don't talk about it. I just throw it out there because somebody asked it to be a topic. And so again, think of any business topic anywhere. One of the ones I do, Tom, that you gave me an idea for probably 2 years ago when you spoke, and it hit me, was does anybody just sit around and say, hey, where are you on your business plan? You know, you get to quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and now at the end of quarter 3, my topic for November is what's your next, where are you now? And because of all the mess, it's going to be a great topic. How are you planning for, what's your business plan for 2021? I'm not facilitating a stinking thing, but I wouldn't have thought to do that as a topic. Where are you in your plan? Except you said, hey, how often, you reminded me, how often do I go back, dust it off and look at my plan? How often do I shift things because of whatever? And I think right now, nobody's thinking about a business plan. They're just thinking about pure shredded survival. Well, we need to get them back on a business track. So that's my November topic, actually, Tom. And every time I think of Tom, I think of you and strategic planning. You are my guru.
Well, I'm at this meeting today. I didn't even know the topic. I just knew you were speaking. So I said, on I come.
Well,
now, what do I do with chambers? Predictably, I do strategic plans with chambers. I did one with another chamber. We've done a couple refreshes on it. You've just given me a lot to think about because I like the topic of smart talks. As soon as you said it, my only issue is, am I an extrovert enough to do what you do, Miss Nancy? We all have our different gifts. And so I'm thinking about, do I want to start to do this and be the extrovert to handle a cast of characters and sort of corral them? But I'm thinking, that's why I'm being quiet. I'm thinking through that. But that's fascinating because it's your marketing tool. And they come to you, which is great. And just think how many addresses you have in that computer Rolodex of yours, because you get every single one of them that come through. So that's fascinating. I like that. That's because I've tried to do sales and leadership, but I don't want too many parts of that. So fascinating, smart talks. I like it.
It works. You know, another topic you just reminded me of was we had a topic on marketing through social media. Well, of course, we want all the young people there. They were freaking brilliant. I just sat back and said, so what works and what doesn't work with, do you believe in it? You know, I've done that probably at least once a year because it changes so much. And they tell us new things and we walk away with these little gems that make a difference. And so it's not that, believe me, I don't even know how to spell social media. But I'm not there to talk about social media. I'm simply there to facilitate a conversation with brilliant, smart people in the room about what works and what doesn't. What are the newest things? And that is always a hot topic. That's always that one is a hot one. And I find some little ditty somewhere about social media, like the trends or something. I try to pull it from Forbes, Harvard, or Inc. Those are where so that they're at least getting in touch with where they should be looking to run their business with some good. But I think Forbes has great articles for our types of businesses to help clients. Inc. has it especially for startup and beginning ones, and then Harvard Business Review just from a people management point. So I try to find them from that area. Linda?
Hey, Tom, you don't have to be an extrovert. I mean, Nancy is the epitome of extrovert. I'm probably right behind her, but that's okay. You don't have to be an extrovert to do what she does. If you think about it, what she's really doing is asking a couple of very good questions, and then the room takes over, right?
And then all I do is
I get it. I get it.
They raise their hand. They want to talk. They want to say something about it. Yeah, Bob.
Linda,
Yeah. Hey, Nancy.
Linda, not to be negative, you do have to be an extrovert to tell somebody to shut the hell up.
Well, that's true. That part of it, yeah.
No, I don't have that problem.
I didn't quite put it that way.
Hey guys, I have to disagree. I am probably the biggest introvert in this group right now. Years ago when Myers-Briggs scored it, I'm off the chart introvert, and I'm sure none of you ever would have thought I'm that person. So Tom, we can do it. It's kind of like learned behavior, sort of like strategically planning the session, think about what you're going to do, and you can go from there. So nah, we can ignore those extroverts. We do just fine.
I can tell you, when I told them to shut the hell up, it really came across verbally. It came with I really do appreciate your ideas. Let's let everyone else have an opportunity. And I said it just like that, which was, unless they were freaking deaf, that meant shut the hell up. And, there were a few people that went, but, let's give everyone else an opportunity.
One of the things I find—
I know, Robert, I'm sorry, Virginia.
One of the things that I find interesting about this discussion that's really gelling in my mind a little bit, and I didn't really realize it till you started talking about being the facilitator. So some things I've tried with the chamber, I've done several goals workshops. For the most part, I usually get a client out of that. I am part of a group that was formed by another coach and another business person that markets itself as targeting topics of interest for small businesses. So once a month, they bring someone in to do like a 45-minute presentation and discussion on a topic of interest to small businesses. And then once a month, they have a smaller group that meets as a little mastermind, and I participate in both. When I first joined that group, I was taking on a couple of different topics they wanted to talk about. I did work-life balance. I did a couple of different things on customer loyalty. But I also, the way they used to plan was they would sit around a room and guess at topics that they thought were going to be of interest. And I did one facilitation session with them where we actually worked with the larger group that comes to these sessions to try to pull out what might be of interest in different ways. And then they asked me to do it again, and then they asked me to do it a third time. And when I did that, and when I did one of the customer loyalty talks, I tried to make that more about what people could contribute from their own experience, as opposed to lecturing on customer loyalty. Through that exposure, it's kind of interesting because I did get a client out of one of them, but I think it's helped me build my credibility with like the chamber president. and a couple other people. And I didn't really realize it was those facilitation approaches that's what did it until I was thinking about it, because the chamber president, 2 examples, got approached by a large garden company, has multiple locations in this area, and they wanted somebody to come into one of their all-day leadership development functions and talk about customer service. And so she kind of sent me their way to do that. And I think it was, she tapped me rather than the other coach that she's known a lot longer because of that facilitation piece that I did, because they wanted interaction. And the other thing she did was she asked me to come to Boston with her last year. She's the president of the Massachusetts Chamber Executives Association. And she said, Virginia, I want you to do the facilitation just like you did for the small group, for these chamber executives on talking about next steps and topics for future conferences. And, you know, it wasn't money in my pocket, but I think that now that I think about it, it's that facilitation and drawing people out that you're talking about that seems to be resonating with her and other people in the chamber.
And it certainly builds your confidence.
Yeah.
It builds my confidence a lot. And it helps me, you know, overcome all the fears of, I know you think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. It's just high energy. You know, Wendy will tell you, if I'm in Reading, Pennsylvania, chances are I'm medicated before I can come even get in front of the group. So I am not your most, this is not easy for me, but you find ways that open opportunities, I think, is the key. I know, Robert, you had something earlier and got cut off. No.
Yep. And I still remember what it is. So here's what. So Nancy, you go to great lengths to not make it, you know, your meeting that you're, you know, but everybody knows who you are and everything. How much problem have you had with people kind of hijacking the meeting or sliding in there on that they kind of, in their business, they also could help you with goals or leadership, or they have the disc or something? Do you have very many kind of competitors in this group, or?
No, and I think you're referring to when we do the 2-hour workshop things.
No, well, actually,
Smart Talk for Women, we may say make goals, but I've never had anybody in any meeting, even the Smart Talk for Women, if we start talking about what's your plan for next year,
right,
or something, nobody's ever said, call me, I can help you.
Okay.
Because everybody's respectful, because again, I make it very clear that this is not a time to promote your business.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to call somebody afterwards and get a hold of them and talk to them about it, I've never had anybody hijack anything, and I dare you.
But you would have some people in there though who it would fit in their business.
Would
maybe, yeah.
But they're respectful enough to know that this isn't about telling us how we can help you. This is just about throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
This isn't a teaching forum. It's business people saying, here's what's happening. It's never do I go in front of somebody thinking I know anything. Yeah. Yes, Linda.
Nancy, one of the points you made, I think, is worth repeating, and really, depending on how large your local chamber is or whatever chambers you belong to, depending on how large their staff is. I mean, right now, the Brunswick County Chamber that I belong to is a staff of 2. So if you can go to them and go, here's what I'm proposing, and you've got it, you know, here's the topics, here's what we're going to do, they will love you from now till next Tuesday. Because if you can bring them a finished product, so to speak, rather than saying, well, I want to do this, can you help me do that, blah, blah, no. Bring them a package and say, here.
Yep, no doubt about it.
That's a very important part.
Yep, and they know.
Nancy, I want to doubly thank you, though. Not only is this a great idea, but having spent my career in the board game business where we introduce 30 new games every year, I can't tell you the amount of hours we spent on coming up with names. Smart Talk is a great name. When you go and sit with somebody from a chamber and you put that name on the table, they're going to get that immediately.
Yep.
And I think that's really going to help in overcoming them, because chambers are reluctant to do things outside of what we do.
Yep.
So I think Smart Talk is a really, really great name for what you're selling here.
Robert Fritz, I know you, is that how you say your last name? I'm so sorry.
That is correct, and thank you. Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome aboard.
And well, first of all, sorry for being late. And I'm in a really tough spot here. I had to have things on mute earlier because it's loud where I am, but it just stopped now. But I had this thought as you're talking. It's a little bit different than what you're saying by putting a group together with the chamber. But there was someone who I was coaching who then has in turn decided to be a coach himself. And what he's done is he's put these little gatherings together of disparate people. And he calls it getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's like, okay. So what happens is he gets a lot of people in there talking about what's different in their lives today, how it's moving forward for them, what solutions they have they want to hear about, whether it's finding a job or increasing their business, whatever it might be. And for what it's worth, he puts 2 videos into it. So he'll talk it up to a point where suddenly he'll be at a part where there's several people mountain climbing. And you'll see them climbing in different directions, whatever. And then he'll ask everybody, well, what do you think about that? Does that resonate with you in any way? And I found that to be a real conversation starter.
Wow.
Someone will talk about the fear of it, the need for conviction, the overcoming hurdles. And, you know, that segment alone could go on probably for 15 minutes.
You bet.
So I'm only using it as a suggestion that when we have an opportunity to gather people, no matter who they are, to maybe weave some videos in to get them to talk a little bit more if they're reluctant to.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. The Smart Talk format that we have when we are in person is a big conference table with salads. The serving staff has the table set before we even sit down, so there's no disruption. The doors closed. They come in the last 15 minutes to, if anybody wants coffee, but that way, it's not a big enough room to do a video, but it is a big enough room if I had to. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a wine bar at the back, in the back of it. Not that I would ever be the one to cover up a wine bar, but I could put a sheet over there and do a video. I mean,
I was thinking more in the virtual calls.
Okay,
as opposed to the in-person.
Yeah, I love that idea. I love it because I'm always looking for things to freshen up the process in and of itself. Cool, especially in the virtual world. How long do you think you're going to be virtually networking, you guys?
Probably forever. Not exclusively, but I would imagine doing virtual networking for a long, long time, in addition to other things.
Yeah, probably.
Hey, Bob, how long, just question, how long was the video? Just like 2 minutes kind of thing?
There was a video, it might have been 5 minutes. He actually has 2. He has someone else speaking later on a TED Talk. But I think it was about 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
That's clever. I like that. As I see we're kind of winding up, did anybody have any more ideas, things to put out there? And again, it was just Nan.
Just as a thought for a topic, I don't know, you said you follow my postings. You might have noticed in the past month or so, I keep including more and more articles about sustainability. And many people think, oh, sustainability is that thing that the other group did way back when, and nothing, it's kind of gone by the wayside. But if you follow the literature today, sustainability, especially during the pandemic, has generated an increased focus. And businesses, it's no longer a way of differentiating yourself. It's a necessity. Yeah. And so I think it's going to allow you to have more energized conversations. And I was talking with Wendy, the way I look at it, I don't care whether you're a proponent of climate change or you don't believe it. It doesn't make any difference. To me, sustainability, this is our earth, it's our home, we keep it nice. And I think if you adopt that mindset, it doesn't make any difference which side of that political spectrum you fall on. Cool. But I think that's a great topic to start injecting into some of the conversations you're having.
Very good.
Have you've used that so far? You've used that topic, sustainability, lately?
Oh yeah.
And do you?
Yes, I do. There's a seminar that I do all the time, and I'm reinventing it for the third quarter. The third quarter is going to call it Are You Ready for 2021? And it basically takes the STAR model, and I take them through each of the points on the STAR. And in that, I include a discussion on what does sustainability mean? And how does it relate to you? Many of the companies I work with are in the trades. So it's been fascinating watching over the years how they've really embraced a discussion about what sustainability means to people in that industry. So yes, I do it.
But the follow-up is, does it ever devolve into a political conversation that you want to avoid?
No.
Okay.
Nancy,
No,
would you agree that in the age of COVID pandemic, what we've all been living through, my sense is that sustainability has taken on a much broader meaning. I mean, it used to be, you know, sustainability was connected to the environment and how we treat our earth, et cetera, et cetera. My sense is that what folks have gone through in the past 6 months, 7, however long it's been, 27 years, it feels like, that sustainability now really encompasses the financial aspect of it. You know, can I keep myself in business? If you look at the arts, if you look at the restaurant business, it's like those people are going, how the hell am I going to survive? You know, and so I think sustainability has gotten much broader.
That's a good observation, Linda. But if you look at it, then say if it's a financial aspect and you're looking at trying to keep your company afloat, then what you want to look at is how do people decide they want to buy from you? And still, in terms of that measure, people will spend more money buying from a company that practices sustainability efforts, be it to be concerned about the environment, be it the concern about the components in their supply chain and what they use to make their product. So it is a means of continuing to grow your business. But you're right, it is a very broad conversation. But I wanted to encourage all of you to kind of do the research. I scan articles every day, and it's more and more a topic of interest. And so being who we are, wanting to be a bit leading edge, it can really set you apart from some of your competitors having that conversation.
Cool. You know what I'll do with, thank you all very much for sharing all your ideas today. I've written copious notes as always off these calls. And I just love being with my family here. That being said, Wendy, what I'll do is I'll send you the topics that I've done over the years, and you can disperse them. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Virginia, I think you said, okay.
You know what?
Virginia,
I was just going to ask the same question if you would do that. That's all.
Okay.
Great minds run the same, yes.
When Nancy sends that to me, what I'll do is I'll post them on the website with the video of this recording as well, so you can access them very easily.
Okay. I'll get the topics out today or tomorrow then.
Perfect.
Cool. And if anybody has anything on goal setting that's like an hour long something, I'll selfishly ask if you can get in touch with me. I've got to do something energetic with goal setting that is an hour, and that's what I get is 1 hour. So if anybody has anything like that, and if there's ever anything I can do for anybody, please just pick up the phone and call me anytime. I love you guys. Thank you for joining us today. Again, let us know what other topics you want. We'll bring them up again on one of these calls. Thank you guys. I love you.
Good to see you.
Wear a mask, wash your hands, drink a beer.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.